Hello, speakers and listeners. So, if you're watching this, it means that, lo and behold, there's been some more problems with OBS, and last session I couldn't record because it ran into a very strange error, and so, hoping that this session I'll be able to record. Luckily, it was a roleplay session, so there wasn't a huge amount of important events that sort of occurred. So it should be pretty easy to blitz through, which I want to do because I'm very tired because I woke up at 3 a.m. and my sleep's totally disrupted. So let's get on the move with this. So, as you remember from the last session, there was the big combat that occurred in the basement of the... Now I'm blanking. The Green Valley Brewery. And so basically they all got out and then were inside of the fields last time. Now they're back in the fields, kind of taking a moment to have a breather, realizing that Ashy wasn't the same sort of Ashy that they came into the cellar with. So there was some questions there, but Glim, not wanting to linger on it because there was more pressing concerns, opted to go and help the various workers that were trying to make sure the brewery didn't burn down. And considering the amount of alcohol on the premise, you can imagine that if the brewery lit up, it'd be a pretty explosive affair. So Glim managed to go there, and with her inspiring sort of presence of being just like a kind of like very just like being a noble that's there, they were able to actually save the brewery. And there was a whole bunch of thanks that came from there, especially from William Sebastien, who basically said to the workers, like, hey, make sure everything's fine, go bring people back from, like, the fields and everything, make sure everything's good. And Glim took the chance to explain what happened in the cellar, where he was very receptive to the news and incredibly disappointed in his son, and requested that he was the one that would go to the Glanville family to break the news, because they've always been close. And after sort of speaking with Lucy, whom he tried to speak instead of noble manner, so it was kind of funny and whatever, he agreed to move Cammy's body, which again is a large, completely messed up werewolf corpse. Move that along. So a few workers were able to respectfully move the body into a wagon, and both of them went down the road. As this sort of as would be the case, by the time they actually got to the other brewery, there was kind of rumors and news that was kicking around, and so there's a lot of questions about, like, oh, we saw fire, is everything okay, what's happening, blah blah blah, which William kind of cut through very quickly, basically saying, hey, we need to see, like, the head of the family. And he went there and talked with the father and mother. That's the parents of Cammy Glanville, and explained what had happened, how things worked out, all these sort of things, and how incredibly sorry. And there was a really touching moment where, like, both of these families kind of, like, came together and said, like, they're kind of like mutual grief. And they're probably going to be now working together as the Glanville Valley Brewery or something. They'll figure out a better name. I'm certain. I'm just spitballing here. With that out of the way, the party was then able to kind of really be like, okay, what's happening with Ashy? And they understood that the ring that was brought out of the Vault of Razimira was triggered, bringing an alternate timeline version of Ashy to the fore. This brought up a whole bunch of questions about, like, whether they should trust this new individual, who they are, how, like, everything sort of plans out, and it kind of broke down that Jesse, which is the DM NPC, just didn't know any of them and was like, they seem helpful anyways, and Emmy is kind of that mindset too, where it's like, hey, if you're going to be helpful, that's fine, but Lucy and Glim are sort of slow to trust, so having that trust kind of be removed, especially for, I would say, Glim, who began to consider, are these other timeline stuff to, be concerned about? Is this something that's going to have, like, an effect? Is the child in the south going to play a role in everything? And if there's a timeline where the banishing was not successful, does that mean that it's going to have effect on other timelines? And not a lot of those could really be resolved because Durst was like, well, just Durst's player was not there at the moment, which from what I've heard, it seems to be available for this session. So a lot of those questions should be solved. So that means that this is the session to look out for. That's coming up, and the playlist will be updated on Monday regarding all of that. So make sure to keep a lookout for there. And a like, subscribe, and hey, if you want to throw some questions down inside the comments regarding how things are going with that, or if there's any other sort of pertinent information that you might want to know, I'd be glad to have those. So have a good one, and I am going to go and crash. Be good.